Hello, welcome back to Securing Cyberspace. The last time we talked about the important terms of security and, for example, identification or authorization, and we stopped by the topic policies. And today we want to continue. Please, Julian, take over.
Yep. Good morning, Frederica. Good to see you again. Yes, so today we want to give some insights with respect to challenges regarding policies. However, before we continue with that, maybe let's recall just for a moment how we actually defined policies last time, or what is policies. So in general, policies are defined as a statement of what is allowed and what is not allowed. So this sounds in the first place plausible, and it makes sense. What are examples for policies that we know from our day-to-day life? So one example can be that a user can access resources only within, for example, working hours, or only from coming from a specific location. Another policy can be a user can authenticate only if they provide a second factor authentication. Another one can be that, for example, looking at microservices, a class of services or microservices should not accept external and incoming connections. From these examples, we see that policies are mainly focused on authorization, or before they were focusing mainly on authorization. However, through recent developments such as infrastructure as code, now we are also talking about policies as code. Where policies are also part of CI/CD pipelines, for example, in the build or integration or the deployment process. Given the fact that policies are concerned of both organizational and technical perspective, they intrinsically introduce challenges. So what can these challenges be from a policy perspective? One main challenge is aligning the policies with business goals. In other words, making policies policies must be business centric. So they must be aligned to our business goals. Another challenge is avoiding contradicting and overlapping policies. In other words, policies must be centrally managed and audited in order to identify whether there are any policies in place that contradicts or that overlaps each other. So we know this, for example, the same is when it comes to firewall rules. So given the fact that there might be contradicting rules, we might not have the expected behavior in a network. Similar is with policies which are on, let's say, on the higher level of abstraction. Another challenge is to enable consistency. In other words, tracking changes to policies. So policies might change for a specific reason, be this from a functional requirements perspective, from a non-functional requirement perspective. And we want to track those changes and make sure that those changes are imported and are integrated and implemented also in other parts of a company, departments, or even infrastructure parts. Another challenge is to decouple policies from the application logic. So in the past, usually the policy logic was implemented in the application. However, as we also are going in the direction of microservices, and we are actually, for example, decoupling logic of, let's say, authentication from the applications. In other words, the application doesn't need to take care of authenticating the users or authorizing users that are using the application as a resource. The same applies to policies. And last but not least, we also want to decouple policy decision-making and policy enforcement. So these are like main challenges that you would find when it comes to policies in general, defining them, implementing them, and enforcing them.
And I can imagine that policies and also using policies has changed with the cloud computing and the complex infrastructures. And yeah, this is maybe also a big challenge for using policies, isn't it?
Yes, completely agree with that. So as I mentioned before, infrastructure as a code or cloud computing. So now we're having hybrid environments. We have, let's say, in this hybrid environments, the challenge that they are built from different software stacks. And now is the question, how can we consistently implement the policies that comply and apply to a company in all these environments? So how can we have a solution that abstracts that and provides this, let's say, comprehensive policy definition and enforcement, and also decoupling the logic of implementing the policies.
So using policies is increasing the security of an environment, but the mentioned challenges, are challenges for all IT teams. So are there solutions out there to help? Maybe managing policies or get them actual or state of the art? Maybe also, sorry for the interruption, maybe open source?
Definitely, there are solutions out there. One, let's say, very well-known open source solution is the Open Policy Agent, which, in addition of being used and especially in cloud-native environments, it is also open source, and it also addresses a number of challenges that we have just mentioned. So for that sense, it is more than plausible and more than ideal. Maybe in the next session that we invite one person of working for the Open Policy Agent developing, and that can introduce us more into the depth of how the Open Policy Agents actually works, what are the components, and how and what challenges that we have mentioned it addresses, and maybe also those that we haven't mentioned. I'm very happy if we can do this for the next video.
We will do our best to get a guest from the Open Policy Agent. So yeah, thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you, and looking forward to the next video.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.